Colonel Steve Braverman, the hospital commander, is on my left. I'd like to start by saying that this has been a tragic incident, and our hearts and prayers go out to all of those who have been impacted by this tragedy. The investigation of the incident is ongoing. Initial findings indicate that there was a single shooter who was ultimately shot and subdued by our first responders. At this time, the number of victims killed remains 13, and 28 injured remain hospitalized. This continues to be a cooperative investigation with both state and federal law enforcement officials. The outpouring of support from federal, state, local agencies, local community members throughout the country has been exceptional, and we here at Fort Hood greatly appreciate it. The Army is providing the post with additional grief counselors, chaplains, and public affairs support to ensure we're able to give our soldiers, families, and civilians the most comprehensive and wide-ranging support and care as possible. Again, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies are all supporting the investigation of the incident. We are continuing to focus on three main areas, and the first one is being care for the wounded, and I'm going to let Colonel Braverman address that before I continue.
Yesterday we had great support both from the community and within the hospital structure here at Fort Hood in order to take care of our folks. Had great support from first responders, ambulances, helicopters from throughout the area. We had combat seasoned emergency department personnel and surgeons here at Darnall Army Medical Center who were able to rapidly triage and treat and transfer as necessary the soldiers who were injured yesterday in the attack. Approximately half of those who were hospitalized required surgery, and all are stable today. Our focus today is going to be on those soldiers who are continuing to require medical care from admitted patients. They're both in our hospital here at Darnall as well as 3 other community hospitals in the area. We also will focus on the behavioral health needs of our soldiers and family members and other folks in the community. We have more than 200 behavioral health providers here on Fort Hood. We'll be supplemented by the Combat Stress Control units from the 1st Medical Brigade and the 85th Combat Stress Control Unit. We will have behavioral health teams that will also be augmented by staff from Brooke Army Medical Center and the Southern Regional Medical Command. And we also have behavioral health teams in the community through Value Options and our Humana partners with the Southern TRICARE Regional Office in the South to support as necessary. So we have an initial surge of behavioral health providers that will be here this morning and the capability to reach out to anybody who needs it with further assessment as we identify what we need down the road.
Thank you. The second area that we're focused on is security of the installation. The post is no longer locked down. Approximately 9 p.m. last night, we opened the gates to allow the soldiers off and begin normal operations. However, we are operating at a heightened level of security, and will continue to do so until we determine to bring it back to normal operations. We are fully confident in the security of this installation and remain so. Third, we continue to focus on casualty assistance efforts. This includes notification of family members and of grief counseling. The notification process is underway, and we ask that all fully support and respect the privacy of families that have been affected by this tragedy. Lastly, I would again like to praise the efforts of our first responders and all the agencies who come to the support of our soldiers and families in this critical time. And again, I'd like to highlight the heroic efforts, and you've heard some of them, of our great soldiers and civilians at the scene who also responded, even those that were wounded, to help their buddies. Today on Fort Hood, we will observe a day of mourning and remembering our thoughts and prayers the victims of this incident. Time we'll take your questions.
What is the condition of Mr. Hassan? The condition of Mr. Hassan, please.
I'll turn that over to Doc.
He's stable in one of our civilian hospitals.
Is he on a ventilator?
I believe that information has already been provided that he is on a ventilator.
Okay. Next.
Has Hassan given you any insight? Has he been able to communicate at this point?
No, at this point, there's no input from it, and the investigators will provide that as that comes to fruition.
Is there an explanation as to why he was originally announced as dead? And then...
Yeah, that was General Cohn mentioned earlier. That was in the heat of the incident. It was just it was a lot of confusion. There was approximately about 400 people at the scene between soldiers, civilians, and first responders. Obviously, numerous wounded, some killed. And in the incident, it was just in confusion. And we had full accountability of him and security instantly after he was the first responder shot him and escorted to the hospital. And it was immediately, as soon as we found out there was nothing that we were failing to provide. It was just a mistake. And as soon as we found out, the indications were that there was a mistake. We wanted to verify, and that's why it took some time to get you accurate information, which we provided a little bit later on his status, and that was provided later.
Any help?
We're not going to speculate about motives. We'll let investigators find that out. And at this point, we have one suspect, as we said, a lone shooter. That's all indications are lone shooter, and he's the suspect.
Sir, on the notification of families,
I'm sorry?
Can you say what percentage of families have been notified? You have a lot of soldiers that their families don't know they've been injured or killed yet?
Right. At this time, last check I had was about 90% on those that were killed, and it continues, aggressively continues, but we are adamant about making sure that this is done properly, and we ask that be respected.
Are there any civilians among the dead or the wounded?
Yes.
How many?
And of the killed, there was one that was a civilian and 12 soldiers.
And I'm sorry, what was that?
One civilian and 12 soldiers. I'm sorry? For Hassan? I'm not sure about that. I'll have to get it back on
The
that.
reports are that he was wearing his uniform.
His uniform.
Any idea on motive there?
No, and again, we're not going to speculate on it. The investigators are here, and they're looking into it, and when the investigation is completed, they'll provide that. How does he get the weapons on post? We're researching now. Investigators are looking into is soldiers, like citizens, are allowed to maintain privately owned weapons and purchase them and use them for hunting and target shooting. We're looking into, in this case, whether it was registered on the post, which would be a requirement for him to do so, to register it. But, random checks are done on vehicles coming in and out of the gate. So in this case, he could have just brought it on to the installation.
The only other person in that area who had a weapon yesterday, was that the police officer, civilian police officer who returned fire?
Right. The first responders, the police officers carried their weapons for this purpose. The soldiers who were just in an administrative area dressed in this uniform, and they were performing administrative functions.
What is the condition of the woman who is the guard?
I'll turn it, Doc.
I'm sorry, what was the question,
The
please?
condition of the woman who shot him. What is her condition?
She's in stable condition. Also at one of our community hospitals.
Those weapons at the time, those were not military issues, correct?
Right. Correct.
Did he say anything during these attacks?
Don't know. We got witnesses are still being interviewed all through the night by the investigators, and they're gathering the information right now.
Was there an initial confrontation before the shooting?
Not that we're aware of.
Talking to his family at this point?
I'm sorry?
Are you talking to his family members?
No, we are not.
Can you confirm that he was deployed to Iraq?
He's under your formation. Again, we really don't want to get into whether he was resisting and speculate about what he was doing. We're going to let the investigators run that.
How long did this entire incident last from start to finish?
Approximately with the shooting and then the follow-up, it was about 30 minutes as information was being gathered.
As shots were fired, what time period
That was about a 10-minute period.
What's the condition of the civilian officer who shot that guy?
She's in stable condition. Everybody who is still alive are in stable condition.
Is it possible anyone was hit by friendly fire?
I'm sorry?
Was anyone hit by friendly fire? Have you ruled that out?
No, the investigators right now are on the scene, came from the scene earlier this morning, and they are analyzing that right now, of all the rounds, the trajectories, all the weapons, all the shots, where they came from, and that will be determined by the investigators.
Can you confirm any of